Hello, my name is Maren Hochgesand and I work together with Hauke Egermann at the TU Dortmund University, and I would like to present you an exploratory study called Movement Entrainment in a Live Concert, where we wanted to investigate relationships between movement entrainment, social experience and prosocial behavior in 3 ecologically valid concert scenarios. Music makes us move, and moving our body or body parts is one of the most natural human reactions to music, and this synchronization to an external stimulus can be called entrainment. In a live concert, we have dozens or thousands of people listening and moving together to the music, and from the literature we know that synchronous joint movement, which can also happen in a concert to the music, can have positive influence on mood, a sense of group belonging, cooperation, social bonding, and at least prosocial behavior. On this basis, we developed the research question of whether these effects on mood, social bonding or solidarity, and prosocial behavior can also be observed in a live concert when people entrain their body to the music. We called this reaction in this model of a live concert. And here the played music will be the same for every audience member, but every listener is different, and according to the literature, there are several factors that can have an impact on the entrainment and movement in a concert. So first, socio-demographic and individual variables. So we know, for example, that people in a positive mood do move more and with more complex movements than other people. There's also evidence that people who are generally more empathic tend to synchronize better with other people to music than less empathic people. Additionally, it was also found that fans or people who like and know the music move more in a concert than neutral listeners. And dance sophistication has also to be taken into account. And all these personal traits might have an influence on the listener's reaction to the concert. Movement entrainment, mood, social bonding or solidarity, and prosocial behavior, which are also interconnected. So for example, there are indications that people who feel connected to the other people in the audience do move more during a concert. And so far, there hasn't been that much research in ecologically valid concert settings on this topic. So we developed an exploratory study to investigate whether we can observe connections between movement entrainment and mood, social bonding or solidarity, and prosocial behavior in a rock concert. For our concert study, we had 42 participants. 57.1% were female, 40.5% male, and 2.4% diverse, with a mean age of 25.61 years, and 81% of our sample were students. The participants knew that they will receive 10 euros after the study as compensation for their participation, and they listened to a free concert on a Wednesday night in the basement of our university, where several bands were playing mostly covers of famous rock songs. And the concert lasted about 2.5 hours, with some breaks for changing the stage. There were around 100 people in the audience, so not every audience member took part in the study and not every participant listened to the whole concert. Some came later and some left earlier. Before the concert, we asked for socio-demographic data and used further questionnaires. Then we provided participants with 2 wearable devices that measured acceleration at 2 locations on the body, one at the arm and one at the torso, and then the participants could attend the concert as usual. Here you can see the audience and one of the bands. After the concert, we asked again for their current mood, the social experience of the concert, and used further questionnaires to ask for their general concert experience. To measure prosocial behavior, we used donation behavior of the participants because it was found to be one of the best measurements to measure actual prosocial behavior. And as the concert was from students, for mostly students, we assumed a donation for the student union as suitable to measure prosocial behavior, because this donation would directly benefit their peer group. At the door, there was a donation box invisible to the experimenters, and after the opportunity for a donation, the participants were debriefed. To analyze movement entrainment from the acceleration data, we calculated how much people moved to the beat of the music they heard in the concert. Therefore, we first analyzed the tempo of every song by tapping. For the acceleration data, we had 2 datasets for every participant, one from the device at the arm and the other one from the torso. And after conducting an interpolation, we cut out the sections for the 34 songs that were played at the evening. With this data, we did a Fourier transform and also used the half and double time of the BPM and a tolerance range of 5% to calculate the value of movement entrainment. And to check whether this analysis of movement entrainment for the actual tempo makes sense, we made the same analysis for random BPM values and compared the results and found that the entrainment values for the real BPM values were always significantly higher than for the random BPM values. These 2 graphs show the movement entrainment during the concert. The 34 songs are on the x-axis, and on the y-axis you can see the degree of entrainment. The graph on the left-hand side shows the results for the measurements at the arm, and the results for the torso are on the right-hand side. The 3 lines show the entrainment on the different metrical levels, so the blue one at the half-time level, the red one at the single level, and the green one at the double-time level. And in our experimental approach and in terms of summarizing and reducing data, we decided to only use a mean of the 3 entrainment values we measured at the torso, even though they were generally lower, because we assumed this data to be more reliable than the arm data, because we suspected the arm data to be influenced by participants holding bottles or mobile phones in their hands. To further check the validity of our entrainment data, we looked at the correlation between the self-reported desire to dance in the questionnaire and movement entrainment and found it to be significantly positive. And this also confirms the validity of our measurement of entrainment. For the further analysis, we decided to only take the data of the last 2 bands every participant was listening to, because the concert lasted more than 2.5 hours and there were several different bands playing, and we wanted to make sure that we really look at the last and still present experience and movement during the concert. And for mood, we found significant positive correlations of positive activation and valence after the concert. So people with higher entrainment values had also higher values for those dimensions of mood after the concert. However, we only found small to medium effects. We also found a significant positive correlation between the overall evaluation of the concert and entrainment. But here we have to note that generally the concert was rated as very good, so the worst rating was 3, which meant neutral on a 5-point Likert scale. To analyze the relationship between movement entrainment and social bonding, we used the factor solidarity from the social experience of a concert scale. It measures the felt solidarity with the other people in the audience, but here we could not find a significant correlation. But at least we found that the value of solidarity correlated significantly positively with the self-reported desire to dance. For the prosocial behavior, we now have to look at the donations, and we assumed our participants to donate at least one of the 2 €5 notes they received as compensation because they already held it in their hands. And because every banknote has an individual number, we were able to trace back the participants' donations. But only 7 participants donated, €55 in sum, and in an independent t-test we could not find a difference in terms of entrainment between people who donated and people who did not donate. So in this exploratory study, we found an association between movement entrainment and mood after a live concert. Further, the results indicate that movement entrainment and solidarity are separate processes, which does not confirm the results of other studies for the time being. Due to the few donations, we could not check for prosocial behavior, and one reason for this poor outcome might be that most of the participants were students who generally do not have that much money at their disposal and therefore had a low willingness to donate in general. In a follow-up study, we conducted an experiment with a very similar procedure at 2 big band concerts. But this time we added an experimental condition. At one concert, the participants were sitting, and at the other concert, they were standing. And we found, also shown in the graphs on the right-hand side, that both movement entrainment and solidarity were significantly higher in the standing condition compared to the sitting condition. But in a mediation analysis, we could not find that the relationship between standing in a concert and solidarity is mediated by movement entrainment. Again, we used donating behavior, and even though the sample was a bit more diverse, there were still very few people donating. So before we bury the idea that there might be a connection between concert attendance, movement entrainment, social experience, and prosocial behavior, we should think about another method for measuring prosocial behavior towards the other audience members, because donation behavior has the disadvantage that there might be other reasons why people don't donate. And we should bring our studies to a more professional concert location, where we also can expect a more diverse sample, which does not consist of mostly students. And we also have to keep in mind that most of the studies in the literature were conducted under highly controlled conditions, where the participants were focused on the tasks and the other participants, and therefore our results and effects are not necessarily comparable, because there's so much going on during a concert and maybe people aren't that focused on the other audience members. Because they might be more focused on the band, it would be interesting to investigate the connectedness with the musicians and also the attention of the participants too. So to deal with the complexity of live concert situations, we need more data to expand our knowledge about this culturally important phenomenon. Thank you for listening, and I'm happy to meet you in the live stream or on Zoom.